This is the perfect beginner tiling project.
Whilst we are driving down to our job this morning, I just wanted to take a minute to say a massive thank you to everybody that has decided to come and tune into this beginner's kitchen splashback tutorial. We're going to be using all sorts of tools with all sorts of tips and tricks. So keep your eyes peeled, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in a bit.
A small kitchen splashback like this has got to be the best beginner's tiling project ever. One wall, 2 sockets. I'm just going to run you through some of the prep quickly. The first thing I've done as soon as I got here is I've scored all of the walls. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, you need to remove all the paint, blah, 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 blah. Look, in a bathroom, sound, kitchen splashback. I scar it so that we penetrate through the paint into the plaster. Then we prime it with a multi-surface primer, or you can use a grip primer. Either or is fine. That's currently drying now. And now the reason why we scar the walls is that primer then is in certain places it's going to be able to embed through the paint into the plaster. Then the adhesive is going to be able to sit in the grooves of those indents through the paint into the plaster, which is going to give it a better, it kind of anchors into the plaster. So anyway, that's just a little bit of the science behind it. One of the things I do just want to point out quickly, and this is just such a fantastic example for setting out. Usually what you would try and do is you would center this, which is exactly what I've done, which actually it still is what we're going to do. But when we're running off a center joint, so brick bond, first one will be center joint, next one will be half bond, okay? But as we come across here like this, we got to here, and then we basically get to here, and look, can you see that gap there? That is instantly no good. Can't have that. And even though the course above it would be fine because it'd be landing just over half tile, it means that we'd be getting left with like a tiny little sliver at the side, and that's no good. So the other option you've got with something like this, which I've worked it all out and it's going to work out just fine, is you split your tile into quarters, okay? So we've got a quarter, half there, and another quarter. And what you do is instead, you will come off a quarter and then you alternate the quarter like this. So as you come up here, although we're not going to have exact symmetry every course, so that one will finish like that, then the next one will finish like this, that on the next course, the cut that's here will be over here. Are you with me? I'll show you a little bit later on anyway, so just stick around and just bear with me, okay? Because it all makes sense. When you're in a position like this where the cuts don't work out, the other option, when half bonding tiles anyway, is to start off on a quarter bond and then go half bond from there. I'll explain it all, don't worry. So yeah, we've got our spacers out, we've got everything out we need, we've got our centre line, and yeah, I'm just going to try and cover as much as I can. This is the perfect beginner tiling project, so I'll see you in a bit.
Whenever I do a splashback, I always, for some reason, and I think it's just because I feel like it's a little bit cleaner and tidier, I always spread the back of the tiles and install that first row and make sure I'm happy with everything. And from that point there, I'll then put a spread on the wall and work my way through it. As I say, I feel like this is just a little bit of a cleaner, more precise way of getting that bottom row on.
Okie doke, so we have got our bottom row on. You've just seen us putting some of them in. Method on a first row for me personally, I like to just spread the back of the tile and stick it to the wall. With a splashback, once again, you don't have to worry so much about the whole back butter, and as long as you've got a good spread on the back of the tile. We're actually using an 8mm notch trowel on this splashback, which is crazy. I would never normally use that, I would normally use a 6. But the wall here is actually quite bumpy, so we've got the 8mm out. It's going to be perfect for this. It just means that we can get over any of the bumps and lumps in the wall, so it'll be a little bit more forgiving. So we do get a lot of questions sometimes, like how do you get over a wall that's uneven and it's bumpy? The best way to do it is with a wider notch trowel. Then after that, then you have to start getting into some of the other options, like maybe double spreading, all that good stuff. But anyway, we're not going to have to do that here. Getting a little bit off tangent already. Now we've got all of our full tiles in, which is what you want to do, and now we've got our cuts up into the side here, and I cut up into the side here, which we'll be using a manual tile cutter for, which I've actually just left in the van. I'm just going to show you something quickly. This bad boy is what we're going to be using to do our L cuts today. We could use them to do the straights as well, but it's very noisy, so I'm going to try and keep it to a minimum, as I've got some lovely cats in this house and I don't want to scare them too much. So I'm going to go get the ruby cutter off. I'm going to show you me marking and cutting those and sticking those in so you can see how that works. And then we'll start getting some of the center up here. We'll start getting some of this up, we'll probably get 2 courses up. We'll cut around the sockets and then it's home run all the way up to the top. Let me know, drop down any comments. If you've got any questions, I'll get all of them answered for you. So if there's anything else you need to know that you think I've not covered, let me know. I'll see you in a bit. If you want, you can use a tape measure. You can do it by eye. I just think you've always got your eyes on you. I always use my tape measure, so that's why I prefer to do stuff like this by eye. Right, so we know these tiles are 20 centimeters long, 200 mil. So center of these tiles is going to be 100 mil, 10 centimeters. So we know that it's going to be going half bond. So we know that wants to go right there. And now what we can do, if you ever doubt in yourself, and you can use a laser level in some situations, but if you ever doubt in yourself, just get your tape, make sure that you bang on. You can check it from both sides as well. It's another way to just make sure. Lovely. Now we'll work off there. Because we've got a spread on the wall, we can just literally put them up, give them a wiggle once they're on the wall. Put your space in there. So me using your sponge to keep nice and clean. I'm just going to continue to get up to probably our next course up. Then we're going to start working out our cuts around the sockets. Bottom rows in, and we've got our centre up like we said we were going to do. And we've just gone a little bit further just to get some on the adhesive that we'd spread onto the wall. At this point I don't really want to go any further until we've got our sockets cut around. Now earlier today I used a screwdriver just to loosen these off, and then you want to just bring them out just enough so that the tiles can slip behind there. Now I'm really fortunate because most of the time you end up doing this, and the screws that they put in the sockets when they fit all of these, they don't put the screws in long enough to accommodate for if you do want a tile. So a lot of time you'll have to pop down to Screwfix or something like that and go and get yourself some long screws to go in there, and you'll just cut them down with a hacksaw or use your snips or whatever and fit some new screws in. But anyway, we're good. We don't have to do that today. It means we don't have to shoot out and go and get some screws because we've lost all of ours. What we're going to do is we're going to mark these cuts up now to come around the socket. We're going to be using our IQ 228 to cut around those. So this piece of kit is amazing because basically I can just plug it in inside, and inside of this machine there's a vacuum. This is the filter. So you wrong way. You spin this and it basically, all of the dust that it sucks out when it's cutting the tiles gets put into this filter tray underneath. So it's all in there. Look, all of the dust just goes in there. And basically what it means, especially this time of year now when it's cold outside, or even if it's raining, you don't need to go outside to do your cuts. You can set it up inside. It's a little bit loud. You put your ear defenders on, put your goggles on, and yeah, it's just like it's like a wet cutter, but it's not a dry cutter with a vacuum built in to suck all of that dust away. And yeah, it just makes things super quick, really quick. So anyway, we're going to mark these cuts up now for the plug sockets. I'm just going to do one of them on this camera, and then I'm going to record on my iPhone for the other one for short form. Okay, in fact maybe I'm going to do this one for you guys, and then this one's going to be for short form. Okay, so I'll show you how we do it. Now what you want to do, you want to mark ever so slightly on the inside of the plate. You don't want to come too far over that it's going to bang off the screw that's going in. Okay, so I'd say about there.
just a couple of mil on the inside of the frame. Now this has got this width cut, so we know we're going to be up to here. Now what we need to do is we need to come down. So you always use your spacer that you're going to be using to mark off, and then you want to do exactly the same here. Just come slightly under. This side is a little bit more forgiving, so you've got a bit more space. So I mean, you could come down a bit further, but I think about there is fine. So now we know that we've got this here, we're keeping this and we're keeping this. So this is the bit that we want to cut off because that's where the plug socket's going to go, look. Does that make sense? Now, you do not need a set square as big as this, but this is what I've got today. So we use this, mark down there, and we also mark up the one going across, like that. And then we know that this is the bit where the socket is, so we don't want this. Scribble on it if you want, if it makes it nice and obvious. And then we're going to go cut this on the IQ. Okay, so we spread our tile up. Now you just want to tuck in behind there. You can see, look, we just, oh, that's one that's gone on the wall, it'll be fine now. I always pack all of this out quite a bit, because when you come to tighten these screws back on, so it's going to smudge that bit of adhesive out. When you come to tighten these screws back on, you want to make sure that this is well supported. So try and scrape out a bit of that adhesive. What we'll do is we'll go over all of this with a little brush and a bit. Wipe that away. So now we're going to do this one. So we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to mark it up, cut the width, and then we'll do our little L cuts over the top. Got to remember the rough side wants to go up to here. So I know that that's right there. So I'm going to mark over the top. Double check that we're happy with that, nice. And then we're going to get a little spacer in there to come off. And we're going to mark just below. Again, a bit of glue on the tiles. So once again, then we've got this. We've got this. I have managed to find my normal sized set square, so we're going to run that across there. We're going to run that one up there. So we know that's a cut, don't we? So what we're going to do is we're going to scribble on that, because why not? We're going to go cut it on the IQ again.
Just a little something about this cutter. So it is a dry cutter. There's no water involved in this. It's got a vacuum built into it, which basically sucks all of the dust from out of the tile into a tray beneath, which can empty later on in the day. This really speeds up with setting up times without having to do the water or risking getting things wet. You can just set it up indoors. It's a little bit loud, but it's great. It's a great piece of kit. Definitely worth having a little look at. But anyway, we'll get into the next bit. See you in a sec.
If you would like to see this socket be cut around as well, go head over to our Instagram page. It is under Jack the Tiler UK, exactly the same as this channel is. This will be a little bit different. I think I've got a little bit further than I said I was going to do, but I've got to quite a crucial point actually where I want to tell you guys something. We are at the point now where we have to start cutting around these plinths, and it can boggle your head sometimes, but it's really not that difficult. The best way to get around it is to treat it just like an L cut to start with. Now what I mean by that is you've got this point under here, and then if you can see it comes down, across, and then back up. So it's almost like you've got to cut like a U out, and then you've got to do this long bit here. But as I say, forget about this bit that's dropped down, this little plinth here. I'm just going to treat it like an L cut to start with. The same as with any of the cuts we've been doing, the L cuts. We want to get a spacer, pop it in there. We'll do our little mark, okay? So we know that that's going to be going up the side of the cabinet. Now, stay with me. Now, what we want to do is we want to simulate this cut here. So once again, the best way to do it by eye is we're going to flip it, look, because this is the bit that's going to be going under here. Stay with me. And flip it, and we're going to pop that there, and we're going to put our spacer joint in. So now we've got this. Now what we can do is we can just cut this off straight away with the IQ, because it's going to have to come out anyway. So I'm going to go quickly whiz that off, and then I'll see you in a sec. So now we've got our L cut. Now what we can do is we'll put that up against it so we know where we want to go. We'll mark where the U bit finishes on the inside, and then once again we can come down and mark the height here like this. Okay, so what we're doing is we're always marking the distance between here and the tile. So now that we know that that's there, we're going to do it. We've got a mark there, and we've got a mark there. Now, if this gets a bit confusing, feel free to rewind, pause, whatever. We're going to continue this cut from down the side of the cabinet down. We're going to extend this bit here from the little notch in the plinth. And then all we've got to do is carry that cut across. Like this. So then you're going to have that little plinth cut out there. We'll get left with a little bit that goes underneath, so we're going to cut this out now. Okay, bosh, done. So now we get this, and that's just going to slot just up in there like that. Okay, lovely, tucked away. So we're going to get that stuck in. Pop our spacers in. I wouldn't ever push too hard on this, look, because this is going to be quite weak here. Just push on the bigger parts, because once you start pushing on this is going to be under pressure. Under pressure. Okay, pop that in there. Lovely, lovely jubbly. One piece left. 2 pieces left. I wanted to check in a little bit sooner than this, but I kind of got a bit carried away and just rolling, and we've done a bit of other recording and stuff for short form. But look where we are. But I'll be honest, we all together got through the tricky bits. We got around the sockets. Now, I'm calling these plinths, but I think they're called pelmets. I don't know. Let me know if you do know. Some of you are probably screaming, going, Jack, that is not what they're called. You know what I meant. So we all cut around these, lovely, jubbly. We're all cut up to the underside of the kitchen cabinet. We've literally just got to get this in now and get this in. So we're going to run these cuts on the ruby. How nice is this? Full tile finish up to the top. There's a little bit of a gap at the top, but we're going to silicone everything anyway, so it's all going to look really nice. So anyway, we're going to get these last cuts in, and then we're going to have a bit of a clean down. We're going to start getting some of our tiling stuff out. It's just about to turn 12, so considering we've been doing quite a bit of recording as well, we're not doing too bad actually. So yeah, I'm going to do these last little bits. I'll see you in a sec. Okay then, so because we're finishing a full tile, literally just going to mark that. So we know that's the side we want. Then we're going to mark that. Lovely jubbly. We know that's the side we want. come over here. That's that one that's going up there. And then last one. Boom. Snug as a bug in a rug. Pop that there. Stick that in there. Love it. Tiled. Done. We're going to have a big clean up. We're going to get all of our tools away. We're not going to need many of these anymore. And I'll check back in with you guys in a little bit. We're going to wait for all this to dry. It's not going to take too long. I mean, the adhesives, it's such a thin spread. I mean, you can already feel that this is starting to go off here. So we just need it to the point where the tiles aren't going to move to start with. Then we'll take all of these spacers out, scrape all of the glue off the tiles, prep all of the joints. And then once that's done, we should be all good to go out. We are all dry, we're all cleaned down in here, we've got everything back on the van. Now we're just going to start pulling out these horseshoe shims, squeeze spacers, whatever you're using. So we're going to pull all of these out, and on the face of the tiles there's glue, which is used to just protect the tiles, keep them safe during transport, blah 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 blah. So we've got to pull all these horseshoe shims out, clean everything up, scrape out all of the joints, and then yeah, you got it. We're going to knock up some grout and get this thing finished. By the way, why I love to use these is because they're recyclable, they're reusable, and they last forever. They're so hardy, not like when you put a spacer and you pull it out and the leg snaps off. These are just wicked. When I started off the bottom quarter tiles, I did actually put the spacers in. It's the 3mm spacer joint. I've done this just to bring it ever so slightly off the plinth, and it also allowed me to come up a little bit more just to make up a bit of extra room up here, but it was more to just leave myself a nice joint down here. It spaced everything else a little bit easier, and also when you do that, if you did come across and the plinth had started coming up slightly, you'd be able to just reduce it down, whereas if you come off the base and then it starts to come up, then you've got to start grinding off the bottom, which is just annoying. So I always do this, and I'll silicone bead across the bottom. On the face of these tiles is glue. So we're just gonna, I mean, this is actually working fine. You can use this, you can use Stanley blade, whatever. Just gonna scrape it all away. By the way, this is the grout we're using. It's the Bow Micromax 3 gunmetal grey. And this is the tool that is a flathead screwdriver that I've been using to clean out the grout joints. I mean, you could, the thing is, there's not really a tool for this, so just find whatever you want. If you want to use a Stanley blade, if you want to use a flathead screwdriver, use whatever you want to clean your joints out so they're all nice and open, and you just get all of the adhesive out that's to the face of the grout joint, and you know, about 4 or 5mm back, whatever. I've wiped all the tiles down, I've got all the glue off. No doubt whilst I'm grouting I'll end up finding a couple of tiles that have still got glue on them. But I've had another hoover down and a clean down again. Remember, just being clean is just crucial. Clean, 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 clean. Especially like in an area like this, you know, in a kitchen where everything else isn't being renovated. We're just doing a splashback, so we just want to keep everything nice and clean all of the time. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one last scan over everything to make sure I'm happy, because now I've had to learn this over time and time again. do not rush this part. Do not rush this prep before you grout, because once you knock your grout up and you start grouting, and then if any of that adhesive starts coming through, or if the glue more than anything gets into the grout, it's a nightmare. You may as well just scrape it all off and throw away the grout, because once those little bits of glue are in there, it's game over really. So get it off now, and once this is done, just remember, once this part is done and you get that grout on the wall and you wash it off, you're done. Apart from siliconing, you're done. So don't rush this bit, take your time.
Right then, there you have it. As I said, prep is key, and I think this is the case throughout all of tiling. Preparation is going to make your life so much easier when it comes down to the rest of the job or everything afterwards. You're going to have less risk involved. It's the same with grouting. Get all of that preparation right, and you know that you're just going to sail straight through to the end of the job nice and easy. Now, today, when we were here, I actually didn't have any charge in my only battery. After coming off the back of a job, I hadn't charged any of my batteries. I didn't have my charger with me either. And so we are having to mix this up by hand, the old school way, the way I used to do it back on site. Now, the best way to do this, if you are in this situation, is to add that powder in really slowly, just to get everything diluted down. And from that point, you can start thickening it up, add a bit of extra water in here and there. Remember, not too aggressive either side, until you get that nice sticky consistency of grout.
I've already grouted this bit and I've washed over, especially when I'm doing naturos. I tend to grout everything in, I'll scrape all of the joints out to become level, and I get my sponge and I just do like a rough wash over, which is basically, I'll literally just a quick wash over just to get the bulk of the grout off, and then you can kind of see more about what you need to touch up. You've got a bit of a better idea of where you need to tidy things up, and then that's when I leave the grout to set. I'm just going to push it into all of the grout joints. Once again, so you can see how because of the bevel, it's just getting caught in these like this. So then what you do is you'll go over all these individual ones.
So then, we've finally made it to the grouting process. Now, I don't know about you guys, I actually like it, getting to the grouting process. I know a lot of people just like hate grouting, but honestly for me, it's a sign of if you've made it, you've made it to the end of the project. You've done all of the hard work. It's time to pack all your tools up, have a big clean down, and get that baby finished. So let me know what you think about that. Let me down in the comments below whether you enjoy grouting or not. But apart from that, this is our time now to just put the icing on the cake. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I do with the beveled metros and splashbacks and any small tile like this when it comes down to grouting, I personally like to just do a quick wash over it as I'm grouting, or just slightly afterwards, just to get all of the bulk of the grout off. And it's a bit easier to see if you've got any pinholes and whatnot, and then you can sort it out. But guys, I'll let you see the rest is grouting out, and I'll catch you in a minute.
One last thing to do, and that is to silicone. And all we're going to silicone is just the bottom of the tiles, just across the base here, just to get that nice finish. So I'm going to show you how I do that. This has already been cut at 8mm. It might be a little bit too much, so I might just scribe it down with my profiling tool, which is here. So I think we're gonna, to be honest, I think 5 would probably be a bit better. 8's a bit bulky for a kitchen worktop. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna start siliconing. You can watch, let's tie this job up.
The dreaded silicone. You either love it or you hate it. I decided to teach myself how to silicone a couple of years ago now. And I've done this just so that I could secure my own work whenever I was doing bathroom tiling. So I wasn't relying on a plumber to seal my work, for example, rather than having to pay for a mastic man to get in. So it's just a skill that I taught myself how to do. Now, I think the key with silicone is just to take your time. Sometimes, if you make a mistake, because it's quite messy, I found myself panicking at times with it. And then you just tend to make things work. But, there's enough working time with silicone. It's all about practice. And it's a good skill to be able to just seal up your work. So we've just put the bead across the bottom of this now, and let's get this squared up.
The easiest way to do a kitchen splashback, beginner style, Let me know what you think. Let me know if you'd have done anything differently. And also, let me know what you want me to cover next. Let's say if this video can get somewhere in the region of 500 likes, I'm probably shooting miles above what I can get. But if this video can get somewhere in the region of 500 likes, the most popular question or something that somebody wants me to cover, I'll find a job to do and I'll do it and I'll record it for you guys. So you guys let me know what you want. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, share it with somebody you think will enjoy it, subscribe, and I'll see you in a bit.